हेलो एस्पिरेंट्स, आप सभी का स्वागत है एनालिस्ट आईएएस के यूट्यूब चैनल पे। हमारा आज का टॉपिक डिकोडिफाइड डिस्कशन के लिए है यूएन हाई सीज ट्रीटी। तो ये काफी न्यूज में है, वी विल सी व्हाई इन न्यूज। हाई सीज किसे कहा जाता है, देन इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है इन हाई सीज का, व्हाट इज द हाई सीज ट्रीटी, व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ दिस ट्रीटी, व्हाट इज यूएन क्लॉस। वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अबाउट दिस इन अ प्रीवियस वीडियो एज वेल, अगर आपने वो वीडियो देखा होगा तो। अदर इनिशिएटिव्स फॉर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द सीज, then we will come to our today's prelims practice question जो based होगा इसी वीडियो पे। So let's start. Why news? Recently, United Nations member agreed on High Seas Treaty to ensure protection and sustainable use of marine biodiversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, which is beyond the economic exclusive zone. It was agreed during talks led by the UN during the Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction in the New York, the US. What are the high seas? As per the Geneva Convention on the High Seas of 1958, those parts of the sea that are not included in territorial waters or the internal waters of a country are called high seas. No individual country is responsible for the management, conservation and protection of resources on the high seas as they do not come under their jurisdiction. Here in this map you can see the area which is in blue. These are the high seas. So they are close to about 2/3 of the world ocean are considered as international waters, wherein all countries have the right to undertake fishing and research. However, only 1% of these waters have been protected, which leaves the marine diversity in these high seas at a greater risk of exploitation. That is why this high seas treaty was important. So they make up nearly 2/3 of the world's ocean. They represent 95% of Earth's occupied habitat as well, but less than 1% of the high seas are protected. What is the importance? So high seas accounts for more than 60% of the world ocean area and cover about half of the Earth's surface, which makes them a hub for marine life. There are home to around 2.7 lakh known species, many of which are yet to be discovered, and they regulate the climate by playing a fundamental role in planetary stability and mitigating the effects of climate change as well through its absorption of carbon and by storing solar radiation and distributing heat around the globe. So this is the important of this. Then what is this High Seas Treaty? The High Seas Treaty is basically a legally binding pact that aims to conserve and ensure the sustainable use of ocean biodiversity. The treaty provides a legal framework for establishing marine protected areas to protect against the loss of wildlife and share out the genetic resources of the high seas. The treaty further puts in various rules for conducting environmental impact assessment for commercial activities in the oceans. So काफी अलग अलग चीजें हैं इसमें. Then the treaty places 30% of the world's ocean into protected areas, includes provisions to increase investment in the marine conservation as well. Then the treaty will facilitate the constitution of an access and benefit sharing committee to frame guidelines to manage and look after the conservation of the ocean. The treaty will also introduce arrangements for sharing marine genetic resources like biological material from plants and animals in the ocean which are present in the high seas. Then what is the importance of this high seas treaty? The treaty is crucial for addressing the triple planetary crisis, which are the climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution. Moreover, it will help in enforcing the UN Biodiversity Conference. हमने ये एक वीडियो में डिस्कस भी किया था, to conserve 30% of the world's land and ocean by 2030, which is the 30x30 goal of the UN Biodiversity Conference. So it is also vital for achieving ocean related goals and targets of the 2030 agenda for sustainable developments and the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Then it also obliges countries to conduct environmental impact assessments of proposed activities on the high seas. Then we will see what is UNCLOS or UN clause. दिस इज द लॉ ऑफ द सी ट्रीटी. कॉमनली इसको लॉ ऑफ द सी ट्रीटी कहा जाता है. फॉर्मली नोन एज द यूनाइटेड नेशंस कन्वेंशन ऑन लॉज ऑफ द सी, was adopted in 1982 to establish jurisdictional limits over the ocean areas. So, convention defines a distance of 12 nautical miles from the baseline as the territorial sea limit and a distance of 200 nautical miles as the exclusive economic zone limit. So, ये जो limits set हुए हैं इनको UNCLOS ने ही define किया है. It provides for technology and wealth transfer from developed to underdeveloped nations or developing nations and requires parties to implement regulations and laws to control the marine pollution. Here, and India became a signatory to the UNCLOS in 1982. Here you can see that there is the baseline or the land of a country. Here are the internal waters. Then up to 12 nautical miles there is territorial sea. Then again up to 24 nautical miles from here to here there is the contiguous zone in the between 12 nautical miles, and after that there is exclusive economic zone which starts from the baseline and it is of 200 nautical miles. Then there is continental shelf, there is airspace and national airspace. So this all is defined by the UNCLOS. Then UNCLOS created new institutions. The institutions were first, the International Tribunal of Law of the Sea. It is an independent judicial body established by the UNCLOS to adjudicate disputes arising out of the convention. International Seabed Authority बना था. It is a UN body set up to regulate exploration and exploitation of marine non-living resources of the oceans in the international waters. So India को exploration के लिए International Seabed Authority ने ही authority दी थी. Next, Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. It facilitates the implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in respect of establishment of the outer limits of the continental shelf which are beyond 200 nautical miles. So these are the three institutions which are created by the UNCLOS. What are the other initiatives to protect the seas? There is Convention on Continental Shelf 1964. It defines and delimits the rights of the states to explore and exploit the natural resources of the continental shelf. Then Convention on Fishing and Conservation of Living Resources of the High Seas of 1966. It was designed to solve the problems involved in conservation of living resources of high seas, considering that because of the development of modern technology, some of these resources are in danger of being overexploited. Then there is the London Convention of 1972. Its objective is to promote the effective control of all sources of marine pollution and to take all practicable steps to prevent pollution of the sea by dumping of waste and other materials. So इसका basically ज़्यादातर काम London Convention का pollution related है. Then there is Marpol Convention of 1973. It covers pollution of the marine environment by ships from operational or accidental causes. So this is the use of this Marpol Convention. It lists various forms of marine pollution such as oil spills, noxious liquid substances, harmful substances in packaged form, sewage, garbage from the ships, etc., which are dumped into the seas. Now we will come to our today's prelims practice question regarding to this session or this video. Consider the following statements regarding the high seas. They form up to 2/3 of the world's ocean. They are fully protected under the UNCLOS. Then they help in carbon sequestration. They are only affected by El Nino and not by La Nina. Which of the following statements are incorrect? You can pause the video, think over it and try to answer, and if you think, you can type it in the comment section as well. Now we will come to our second question. So the second question is, which of the following statements are correct? Territorial waters are up to 20 nautical miles. Contiguous zone is up to 24 nautical miles. International airspace starts from contiguous zone. Any kind of commercial activity is allowed in the exclusive economic zone of a country. So you can pause the video, try to answer of this as well. This was all about today's video and session. Hope you learned something new. Stay tuned with Analyst IAS for your better.